Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our special presentations for today, September 17th, 2024. I'm actually going to go ahead and work my way up to the microphone at the front to get started with our first and only presentation of the evening. Well, good evening once again, and welcome to our special presentations tonight. We have one, as I mentioned, but it's a very important one to so many of us, not just in Moreno Valley, but around the world. Moreno Valley, as many of us know, is home to people who stem from multiple different backgrounds, ethnicities, creeds, and religions. However, an amazing percentage of our population is built around the Hispanic and Latino Americans that reside within our city's borders. With our city's background and goals, it's important that we recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month as we show support not just for our Moreno Valley residents, but to all those who celebrate and partake in Hispanic Heritage Month festivities. And I would like to, actually, let me continue, just stick to the script. Each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. The observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th. It was enacted into law on August 17th, 1988, on the approval of Public Law 100-402. Hispanic Heritage Month has been around since the 1960s and continues to be a part of our nation's reveled celebrations, which include the city's own El Grito event that just happened this past Sunday, which saw a huge crowd and is probably our second largest event now in the city after our 4th of July celebration, which also celebrates independence for the United States. And at this time, I would like to go ahead and invite community leaders that have done so much work and just have so much history in the region, here in Moreno Valley, in the city of Paris, and across the Inland Empire. Luz Gallegos and her family, who come from Todec Legal Center and run that over just right next door in the city of Paris. So at this time, I would like to ask the Gallegos family if you could please join me here at the microphone, and if we could give them a big round of applause as they come up. Oh, up here. Plenty of space up here, yeah. Thank you again for coming out. Pásale. ¿Cómo están? Okay. Voy a pasar por acá. Okay. Well, welcome, bienvenidos de nuevo aquí a acompañarnos en la ciudad de Moreno Valley. Siempre un honor estar aquí con ustedes. And behind me here, actually over my left shoulder, we have a proclamation that's recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month here in the city of Moreno Valley. And before I pass the mic over to Luz Gallegos, I would like to read just a little bit of what's on the proclamation. And it reads as, whereas the City of Moreno Valley is proud to join in the national celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, observed annually during September 15th and October 15th, and invites all Moreno Valley residents of all backgrounds to experience these rich cultures and develop a deeper understanding and appreciation of the role that Latinos have played in our nation's history and continue to have today. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, on behalf of our citizens and staff, does hereby recognize September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. And I do want to just say also that, I mentioned that on Sunday, we had our annual El Grito celebration, which is huge. And we do focus primarily on the Mexican Independence Day that we celebrate in Mexico with El Grito. It's the annual celebration, but also so many other countries that on the same day, like Guatemala and Honduras and so many others that also celebrate their independence from various European countries that had the Central and South American countries under colonial rule. So, so much history there, a lot of unfortunate oppression that happened, in the past, but these are critical. These events are critical to make sure that we don't forget all the sacrifices that have been made, all the prices that were paid by so many across the world in the name of liberty and freedom and independence. So I'll pause right there and go ahead and turn over the microphone to Ms. Luz Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Ulises Cabrera. I also want to thank City Council member Shaylinda Bernard, Mayor Pro Tem, Elena Vaca Santa Cruz, our council member, Edward A. Delgado, our another council member, and the entire city of Moreno Valley. For us, we're very humbled and honored to receive this award. And to be honest, growing up in being born and raised here in Sunnymead and Paris, we've seen the city grow. Back in the day, my parents used to harvest the groups or the citrus here, and seeing the injustices that we had with the farm workers and immigrants, the fear of immigration, that's how TODEC started, out of struggle and fear of our most vulnerable communities. And since then, TODEC has grown to be regional organization serving 4 counties here in Southern California. And for us, this award means so much, not only to my family, but all our team and volunteers and members that are part of TODEC here in Moreno Valley. And thank you again, Mayor and the entire City Council, City of Moreno Valley. For us, this award means so much. The work that we do is out of our hearts, and because of the compassion that we have for our community, especially farm workers and immigrants that fear systems, that don't have the privilege that many of us do, but continue to harvest the food for all without receiving anything in return. This award means so much for our organization, but also to our entire community, that the importance of continuing to highlight the contributions that Latinos, Hispanics of all countries, in reality, all immigrants of all countries, that we all contribute to our state's economy. Thank you again on behalf of our organization and my family and our membership. Thank you, Mayor Cabreras, and our entire City Council and the City of Moreno Valley. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por este honor, y muchas gracias a toda nuestra comunidad aquí de Moreno Valley. TODEC pues nació de la lucha y las dificultades y la problemática de nuestra comunidad inmigrante y campesina, y pues seguimos adelante, y este reconocimiento es un honor para nosotros, y estamos con mucha alegría de recibirlo, porque el trabajo que hacemos nace del corazón y de la compasión que le tenemos a nuestro pueblo. Muchas gracias, alcalde, a todo el cabildo de la ciudad de Moreno Valley, a toda nuestra bella ciudad de Moreno Valley, que cuando llegamos se llamaba Sunnymead, pero ahora hemos crecido a ser una de las ciudades más grandes del sur de California. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
And so I would like to invite my colleagues down as well so we could take a picture. But on behalf of the City of Moreno Valley, we do want to present this proclamation to Luz and your family, your mom, your dad, who, for those who don't know, I just want to make a quick plug also that, I'll go so far as to say that we're standing in the presence of glory, because actually your family, your mom and dad, literally throughout, the years, literally walked alongside the likes of, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and when they would actually come here to this area and walk, the fields and make sure that the folks out in the fields had what they needed, right, and advocating for them. So, muchísimas gracias a ustedes también por todo lo que han hecho y todo lo que siguen haciendo por la comunidad aquí en Moreno Valley, en Paris y en el Empire. Felicidades y muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, y le deseamos que toque siempre todo este.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Thank you. All right.
Vamos a tomar una foto.
Hold on, one more. Oh, one more. Okay, all right, thank you.
Let me go ahead and just close out, and we'll take care of that. So once again, thank you all so much for joining us for today's special presentations. We'll be back in just a minute or two for our regular council meeting. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley. The City Council receives a separate stipend from the Community Services District if any CSD business is conducted at this meeting. I now call this meeting to order on September 17th, 2024 at 6:05 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by, would anyone like to volunteer to lead us in the pledge? I see a hand from Councilmember Delgado, who will lead us in the pledge, and then please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for the invocation given today by Pastor Donnie Wilson from Lighthouse Baptist Church.
Please join me by placing your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's go ahead and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Lord, you truly are Lord, Lord of my life, Lord of creation, Lord of this city, Lord of this nation and this world. Truly, as your word says, all power is given unto you in heaven and earth. We acknowledge your power and humbly invoke your presence here today. We thank you for the gifts you have given each of us, life, wisdom, the help that you bring, the righteousness that you set before us, Lord, in this nation and in this council, Father. We thank you for your grace, your mercy in each of our lives individually. We thank you for your grace and mercy in this city and our work in our homes, Father. Lord, we thank you for your blessings of growth and stability in an uncertain world. We thank you for your patience and your protection, and we ask for your wisdom and guidance in direction of each home represented here, each council member, each person that is within the sound of my voice this evening. Lord, we ask that you would guide and direct. Lord, thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' wonderful name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much for the invocation. Once again, Pastor Donnie Wilson from Lighthouse Baptist Church, and thank you for all you do for the community as well. Really appreciate it. That brings us to item D on the agenda. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Delgado.
Here, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
Here.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Here. Next is item E, motions to excuse, and we don't need any, seeing as we are all present. So next is item F, staff introductions, please.
Patty Rodriguez, Acting City Clerk.
Paul Radvica, Deputy City Clerk.
Stephen Quintanilla, City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Brian Mohan, Assistant City Manager, Administration.
Sean Kelleher, Assistant City Manager, Development.
Lonnie Jimenez, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Melissa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Director of Parks and Community Services.
Robert Cardenas, Human Resources Director.
Cruz Esparza, Economic Development and Housing Director.
Lieutenant Tim Browse for Captain Sarah Mack, Chief of Police.
Diana Rocket, Division Manager, Emergency Management for Fire Chief Jesse Park.
Well, thank you very much, staff. It's always a pleasure to be here in the chamber with you to conduct the city's business. And that brings us next to item G, which is approval of order of agenda. And I would like to call for a vote seeking a motion on the approval of the agenda.
I motion for approval of agenda.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Bernard, second by Councilmember Delgado. Please call for the vote. We might be having some technical difficulties on our screen, but maybe we could do a voice vote. Madam Clerk, could we call for a voice vote, please?
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Yes. Looks like we figured it out on the screen, and that passes with 4 yeses. Thank you very much. That brings us next to item H, which is public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. Please be advised that the city is currently offering Spanish translation services if anyone is interested in this service, please let the city clerk know. La ciudad actualmente ofrece servicios de traducción al español. Si alguien está interesado, por favor, nos avisan. Before we move on to public comments, I would like to remind everyone to keep their comments directed to the City Council and respectful. For comments on items on tonight's agenda, each speaker will have a total of 3 minutes to comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
Yes, we do, Mayor. The first 3 speakers are Brandon Carn, followed by Elaine Vu, followed by David Zeitz.
All right. I guess the time will start. I'll start. All right. So I wanted to first respond to some of the closing comments that Mayor Cabrera gave last time at the last meeting. Seemed to be implying that some of the speakers that were coming up here talking about the art program were giving false statements and things like that. So I went back and reviewed it, and I'm not seeing the things he's saying. So just to summarize this point, one of the things he was saying was the money was coming out of the general plan. The speakers were saying that. No speaker said that. Been involved kind of reviewing this process for a year and a half. We know that it comes out of a developer fee fund. Las Vegas does a similar thing. So why would we say it came out of the general fund? No speaker here would say that, and they know it's not true. Another point he pointed was the city doesn't pay for any of the murals in the school district. I used to work for one of the school districts. I'm very aware that they are not funding that. So it's really interesting, just a few of those points, that he's accusing the speakers of coming up and not knowing their facts or putting out misinformation, and he's mentioning that some of it's coming from grants. I helped the city write one of the rough drafts for the Inland SoCal grant you used. And I'm aware only a third of your art program was funded with grants. It comes out of developer fees. And so the main point is you're spending a lot of money on a handful of people when you can be a lot more equitable. And you know, this type of thing it's really funny how he'll accuse other people in the public of spreading misinformation, but then sit up there himself and actually say that and do it live while people are here. So it just goes back to my saying we do need a new mayor. I'm not surprised remotely that this mayor has no support from the city council. My understanding is every member of the dais plans to endorse a candidate other than him for re-election. I'm not surprised that he's been censored twice by the city council for a variety of reasons, not being polite to the staff and being rude to people. I'm the individual that actually got the ACLU 4 years ago to send you a warning letter to stop blocking people illegally on Facebook because you don't have respect for the First Amendment. You've weaponized some of the programs against your critics that the city offers. And my comments are not just about the city's program. This city is in a great state of decline. People don't want to open businesses here. The homeless population is increasing. We don't have enough services for that population. And it's this mayor for the last 2 years, and it's his tenure. You can't blame Yixtin Gutierrez for all of it. You can't blame the economy. You can't blame people prior. You can't blame your colleagues. It is the leadership at the head. I'm kind of familiar with Mayor Tran of San Bernardino, and San Bernardino has a rough neck of the woods, but they've been doing a lot of stuff about the exact same span of time that this mayor has been in office. There's a pretty strong and upcoming art movement in that city, despite I know its setbacks, and a lot of different things. So we used to have a joke. This city needs someone more mature, honest, experienced, just to lead it and vote for it. We used to have a joke a few years ago when his opponents were running, when George Price was here with others. ABC, anybody but Cabrera. Please pick a different candidate in this election and start over.
Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Elaine Vu, followed by David Zeitz, followed by Seth Cox.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for serving our city. It's a tough city, and you know, I know you're trying your best. It's a collaborative. We need to cooperatively work with one another to make it a better world. And it's not possible just to have one group of people to fix the problem. We all have to chip in. And so I was a substitute teacher at Vista Del Lago High School yesterday, and I was able to recruit 34 volunteers that are willing to volunteer ready and volunteer to work with the city, with the police department, the fire department, clean up the parks and pick up trash, animal shelter, So I've actually had those students' names written down and the things that they want to volunteer. And the school also had the students, especially if they're 12th graders, they are required to do community service in order to graduate. So we do have that pool of students that are looking for volunteers. And I talked to the secretary, and she said that the assistant principal will be chatting with me. So I just wanted to connect, the city with the departments in the school. We all need to work together to make it a better place. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
The next three speakers are David Zeitz, followed by Seth Cox, followed by Christopher Baca.
My name is David Zeitz. I speak for myself as a citizen of Moreno Valley. Our 2040 general plan update has been ruled flawed by the courts, and we are told that the only part we have to redo is the EIR. But in fact, we need to redo the EIR. We have to also redo the gross greenhouse gases. Basically, the whole general plan update has been nullified, which means things can be changed. There was some very unpopular zoning changes that were put in last minute before it was voted upon, that was not brought up in front of the general public for their opinions, yet they were put in. The people that benefited from these were part of the committee that was appointed by our previous mayor. It's hard for me to believe that we were so blind that we put the two largest developers on the committee to figure out our zoning for our city and the way the city should be laid out. To me, I think we're putting the fox in the hen house. There were so many changes that benefited those developers with the 2040 GPU that it's ridiculous. I think we need to go back. We need to look at all the zoning changes that were done. We need to go back and reevaluate the entire thing. Basically scrap it. Let's be transparent. Let's do an entirely new one. That way the public has a voice in this. We can do all the study sessions. We've already spent way too much money on it, so why not just spend a little more and let's just do it right. We had a very unethical committee put in there. I think we need to have people put in there that knows what's going on, who are not going to financially gain from this, which is what happened. We just need to make it right and be transparent about it. It was pushed through for somebody, and I'm going to say it, our previous mayor's agenda, and so he could have it on his record that it was done during his realm. It should have waited. Even our mayor now said that it was flawed. He would vote for it and let the lawyers fight it out. Well, the lawyers fought it out, and it was wrong. Across the board, it was wrong. We need to make this right and get trust back with our citizens. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Seth Cox, followed by Christopher Baca, followed by Julie Pedroza.
Evening, Seth Cox, citizen, District 3. Okay, I have a laundry list to talk about, but I only have 3 minutes. So I'm going to do one on traffic on Alessandro Boulevard, especially from LaSalle out, okay, out to the east. You are building thousands of homes out there right now. But on LaSalle, starting at LaSalle, going toward Marina Beach Boulevard, you've got two major constructions almost finished, okay? And it appears that somebody's going to allow street parking on Alessandro. Based on the sign, it says no parking Friday from certain times. That is my assumption that it's going to be parking any other time. How can you allow parking on a major truck route through the city that's supposed to be a 4-lane, and then half of them say right turn only lanes. So those people that got to turn right have to dodge parked cars. It's just an eyesore, for one thing, parking on Alessandro going east, okay? That's not what it should look like. That's only LaSalle. If you go a little bit further down, but right before you get to Oliver, the same signs are up on those new houses going in there for DB Horton, okay? Street parking on Alessandro eastbound and westbound coming the other way. That shouldn't happen. I'm not a traffic engineer, but that shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to fight stoplights, fight semi-trucks, fight parked cars on the right, and any other thing. People doing U-turns because they can't turn left coming out of their exits, okay? You're putting medians in existing roads and blocking them and say you can only go one way or the other. You can't go the other way. So then they have to go up and they do a U-turn and come back. An illegal U-turn, okay? So somebody needs to look at the traffic patterns on Alessandro Boulevard, basically through town, okay? Because you're building houses out there that are residential, shouldn't be street parking. If you're building a house, you're approving a housing project, it should have enough parking for the people that live there with their cars. Now, the ones that have 12 families living in one house and have 24 cars, yeah, we have a problem, but that's another issue. So that's all I have tonight. Thanks.
The next three speakers are Christopher Baca, followed by Julie Pedroza, followed by Bob Palomares.
Good afternoon, community, council, and staff. My comments are my own. They're not influenced by anybody else. I just wanted to touch on some of the, firstly, I want to commend the city for doing fairly good job on keeping the homeless in check with the sweeps and so forth. But there are a couple of areas where I believe you can improve. One of them would be with RTA. I don't know who's on the RTA, but I've seen on other cities, major cities, that rather than having benches, they have these leaning things. And that seems, because it seems to be a problem on Sunnymead, that the benches, the bus benches, are harboring encampments. And so if you would remove the benches and put the leaning stuff for the people that are waiting for the bus, that helps with, that. But those benches really should be removed. On the other hand, I see that little section on Day Street that is surrounded by the 215, the 60, Eucalyptus, and Day Street. That area was stolen by the city of Riverside from Moreno Valley, and that should be Moreno Valley. But it is the city of Riverside, and it's lots of empty fields that are harboring a lot of encampments. And they are not, the city of Riverside is not going in there and cleaning those encampments out. And those people and those encampments are coming out over to Moreno Valley. So all of the homeless you see on this side in Moreno Valley are coming from the encampments that are in that area. So that needs to be addressed to the city of Riverside, that they are not doing anything to help us and making the homeless situation worse. So those are my two suggestions as far as the benches and the area in Riverside. What else do I have? On another note, we have nonprofits here, making it easy for homeless people to live in the encampments, because there's one, I've mentioned it before, there's one nonprofit that's handing out syringes and the meth pipes and so forth, and other ones that are, of course we have to be, it's only humane that we help them, but they are making the situation worse by feeding them. There's plenty of soup kitchens, there's plenty of EBTs and services available that they're not taking advantage of. So I would just suggest for these nonprofits to concentrate on the people that are on the verge of homelessness and help those people with whatever they need to do, but not with the homeless. Thank you.
Next three speakers are Julie Pedroza, followed by Bob Palomares, followed by Tona Linares.
Good evening, Julianne Perdosa, Building Up Lives Foundation. 3 minutes gives me enough time for like one day at what we do. We was working with a female and a single mom, and she's living in the hotel, so she is homeless, but in certain areas it's considered not homeless. She works for departmental services, helping others get out of homelessness. Is that the oddest thing? Just the way it is, their pay scale, you can't really afford homes right now. So able to pay for some of her rent. At the hotel, she needed just a few more days because she was going into permanent housing, room rental. We nominated her for a free car, and I don't want to share too much because I want the auto body shop and AAA that donated the car to all come together and get the little glory of it as well, right? But it's a 2020 Mini Cooper for her and her daughter. Her daughter's working at the mall and straight A student, you guys. This is our homeless too. It's not all using syringes. I run into probably 80% that are not doing drugs. I have a couple here that came to see how city council's going. They were homeless. Salvation Army housed them for 3 days, which I'm so excited because sometimes it's hard to pull. Where do we get vouchers? We don't get vouchers. And so they housed them for 3 days, and we're housing them for a few more days until permanent housing. I did find a unit for them, a home, and we're actually placing 3 people into that home. They're all elderly. The problem is, and I have another one today I'm working with, he's retired. They don't make enough money. The rent went in a matter of 3 years from $600 to $1,500, and the landlord just notified him again. It's going up to $1,600. How do you do that when your rent? I mean, your whatever you're ending your work environment with, Social Security, disability, whatever you got, that doesn't go up. So that's the problem. And then on top of that, we paid for his utility bill because it was going to be shut off. He's been in and out of the hospital. He doesn't have a valid ID because he's been in and out of the hospital. Well, now if you get it shut off, you have to pay the late fee, what's past due, and your ID. And he can't do that. Well, how are we going to get a driver's license or an ID in time to get it shut on? So we turned that on today. He's still in the hole. So we're still digging that out. But there's a lot of them, and there's more. At Our Place restaurant, 7 days a week, we have food from 8 to 2. We struggle at putting food there because so many people are coming to get food. The need is getting worse. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Bob Palomares, followed by Tony Linares, followed by Luis Palomares.
Good evening, council, public. All these opinions that I say are mine, influenced by no one. First of all, I always salute our first responders, and I know they've been extra busy, so thank you. When Mr. Brandon Carnes came up here and said that we have no leadership, I've been saying that for a long time, but you get what you vote for, and we ain't got nothing. First of all, thank you, Ed. They're putting that slurry seal up there on Sunnyview Ranch on Thornberry Circle and Plumtree, Muskeg, all those streets. Beautiful, man. It's nice. A lot of happy owners up there. I wish they would do something about Harris Boulevard. You know, when they put the water line in for the hydrants, it's real uneven. And if they put something like that slurry still, yeah, all right, thank you. And the last time council meeting, I heard Chris talking about $18,000 for a wrap on a utility box at the corner of Paris and Cottonwood. So I went over there to look at it, and man, I wonder where the $18,000. Maybe it's in the box because it ain't on the wrap. So, you know, it's just like tomorrow, no planning commission, no development. You know, what's going on? I mean, I guess the planning commissioners have to come here to see what's going on. But we need to get the city going because, like someone had spoken about what's going on in other cities, and I look at that too, and everybody's thriving. it seems like we're just floating. You know, no direction. It seems that way to me. I mean, maybe if we get a new mayor, we'll get some new direction, or, you know, I know you people up there, you know, it takes 3 to vote, but man, it doesn't look good, the forecast. And if we get 2 more years of it, adios. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Tony Linares, followed by Luis Palomares.
Hello, council members. I don't know how to really speak on this behalf, but I just want to say that I worked for 31 years in my life, and you know, I've helped people out that were homeless, and now I'm homeless. And you never know what the outcome of life is going to be for us as an individual. You know, I've never thought, I mean, I was homeless before. Now I'm homeless again, and I'm 63 years old. And I have medical problems, diabetic neuropathy and stuff like that. You know, and I don't mean to ask anybody for any kind of help, because I've always been a fighter and a struggler. You know, and we never know what can happen to us in life. We don't. I mean, we can have everything. I've had a house, I had 2 houses, 3 houses, I had cars and stuff like that. And now I'm in a situation where now I'm homeless, you know, and I don't feel happy about it. I feel stressed and depressed, you know, and I have problems with my legs and my feet, diabetic neuropathy and stuff like that. And this is not something that I asked for as medical help, you know. I've been in the hospital 3-4 times because of my illnesses and stuff like that. And I think there really needs to be more help for the homeless that suffer like this, you know, because this is not something that I asked for, you know. I've always been a person that has been strong, and I believe in working, you know, and working for my money and stuff like this, you know, and I just see the sadness of the world, what's going on. I mean, people don't ask for it. It's just something that happens in life. It happens in life. And we have to realize that I never expected this for it to happen to me. And it's happened twice, but it can happen to anybody. I mean, I saw during the COVID, you know, when the COVID happened, people that had 6-figure incomes and stuff like that, they became homeless. They lost everything that they had, you know, and we're in dire need of help. I mean, it's not something that we appreciate to help, you know, have somebody help us and stuff like that, you know, because, you know, we want it for free, but we don't want it for free. I don't like it. I mean, I'm really depressed and discouraged of what's going on in my life, in my health and everything like that. But all my life, I've been a worker since the age of 9 years old.
Thank you, Mr. Linares. I don't mean to cut you off, but the 3 minutes has expired. However, our staff is ready to make sure we get your contact info, because we do have resources and programs that hopefully will be able to help you out. Mr. Patrick, just right behind you there, will be able to connect with you. Make sure we follow up with you, sir. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Luis Palomares, followed by Hector Diaz.
Wow, Luis Palomares. You know, we're living in the last moment here. We're living in the last day, really, because I've never seen, in all my years, I've never seen the world like the shape it's in, especially our city. It's really going downhill. You know, I'm all over the city. I'm driving here to and fro, but you look everywhere, all the different businesses, they don't even water their grass anymore. What's really going on? It's all dried up. It looks awful, especially the mall. It looks terrible. I mean, what could the city do to get them to water? Because that really looks all over. And a lot of in a lot of different businesses. As far as what Brandon Carr said, I agree with everything he said. Usually we're never on the same page, but wow, it's true. Since you've been on this, on the seat, Mayor Cabrera, what's going on with our city? Fix it. Fix it. We got even more homeless now, like this. People are coming and saying, speakers, what's going on? Those are the issues that a lot of different issues you can address. I know you've been trying to do this and that, but a shelter with 35 beds, we're going to tell everybody, hey, we got it here, come. There has to be a better answer than that. A better answer than that. As far as, wow. Yeah, it's bad. And I like to say congratulations, not congratulations, I like to throw a shout out for our firemen. There's been 3 fires, and maybe another one, who knows when, but it's awful. Our firemen are out there. They're the real heroes. They're the heroes. I mean, we got to pray for them because they're out there on a battlefield day in and day out. And just seeing it all in California, right here, a lot of people are sick with a lot of different issues with asthmas and breathing and all that. I came to the grito on Sunday. I didn't even go out there because I stood inside all the whole time because the air was bad for me because I have asthma. So what I'm going to say again, Mayor Cabrera, do something. Do something for the city. On the campaign trail, you've been on that campaign trail, and it's all about your agenda and what you want and what you need for your people that came and support you with the arts and all that. They're not here now, but they got their money and they left already. $70,000 for a mural, $60,000, $40,000, $25,000. And I know it comes out of the dead fees, but there's a lot of other things we could do with that money for the arts instead of more murals. We don't need them. Let's fix. Well, let's do other things like for our kids. Let's make things for our kids. Art lessons, dance lessons, music lessons, sculpture. We should build a building for all the arts, a museum. We should. And that's what I want to see come to the city because all this other stuff, come on, it's bad. Our city's in bad shape. Whether we want to see it or not, it looks awful. Look all around it. Look what's going on in our community. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are Hector Diaz, followed by Roy Blackard.
Well, good evening all. My name is Hector Diaz, and I'm a longtime resident of the city of Moreno Valley. I would say probably over 20 years or more, and also a business owner for about 20 years in the city of Moreno Valley as well. And as a resident here, I know that the city still faces a lot of big problems here, and some of them are economic growth, and which is actually about jobs, keeping jobs, create more jobs for the residents here, so that way they can stay working here, and they don't have to drive out of the city. Also, public safety is a big issue, and I know that there's not a lot of deputies to working to enforce the law, and I know that sometimes people say that crime has been decreased, but I can tell you that it has not. So we still have a problem with that. So another issue is that I would like to see that, I think that the city needs to work on also like educational programs, like ROPs, programs, after school programs, so that way we can teach our kids, keep them busy after school, teach them like auto mechanics, you name it, different kind of activities, get them involved. And the last thing is homeless. I know that the homeless problem, we have a big homeless problem here in the city. As a business owner, I see it all the time. And usually it has a big impact in business, in the small businesses, because sometimes our clients, they don't want to come to us because we have a homeless problem at the front door. And I know that the city's been spending quite a few money on some of the issues, or like Ms. Palomar was saying, the murals. I can tell you that me as a business owner, I have nothing against murals. I think it's okay to invest money, but I think it was way too much money invested in that. How many people can we feed with $300,000? A lot. And sometimes we have to know our priorities. And it's easy. As a business owner, I know that it's easy to spend money when it's not your money. But when it's your money, you have to know how to balance it and how to manage it better. That's my point. And I'm here because I'm running for city mayor. And if you have any questions, I'll be sticking around for a minute. And you can always reach out to me. My website is Hector Diaz for mayor at .com. Any questions, just let me know. Thank you much.
The next speaker is Roy Bleckard.
In case you didn't know, and I bet you didn't, today is Constitution Day. Over 200 years ago in 1787, the greatest political document, freedom-loving, opportunity-giving document was written. Very concise, it's very precise. One and a half million people died to give you that right. For life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I will tell you this, and I will stand here, as long as I'm on the top side of the grass, anyone who tries to violate anyone's right under the Constitution, especially free political speech, the First Amendment to that Constitution, which came 4 years ago. What goes on in this area, in this city, as you heard the first speaker, Mr. Karn, say, it still goes on. Prove me wrong. I will give you the venue to debate it, to discuss it, to do the investigation. So like I say, I have no problem with the city attorney or the city clerk's office in this city. What happened trying to block our right? I, you, anybody under the Constitution, and that we all have the equal rights. If you want to argue your case, again, bring it. I will give you the venue. But don't try to use your influence law or anything else to try and stifle somebody else's. Elena's mom, Victoria Baca, got arrested standing up for our right just down the street at the frickin' crime syndicate. I will not stand for that. I will stand with anybody's rights. I don't care if you think I'm the devil reincarnated or you disagree with me 180%. I will stand for your right to come up here or in any public venue to express your opinion, and I will not stifle anyone's right, and I will fight for their right to express that just like you do. It's went far enough. It's your responsibility to enforce it. Start doing some investigations. Start putting people under oath like your ability to do. Please.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you to all of our public speakers for coming out this evening. Excuse me. We'll now go ahead and move into item I, which is the joint consent calendars. And before I move into public comment, I am going to go ahead and turn to my colleagues here on the dais to see if there's any items that you wish to remove from the consent calendar for separate action. And I see some hands raised, I believe. I did see some for a second. I see Councilmember Delgado.
I'd like to pull I-10 and I-11 just for comments. No action needed from me, just for commenting on those.
Okay, I-10 and I-11?
Yes, please.
For comment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any other requests from the council? Okay, so item I-10 and I-11 for comment. I'll turn it over to you, Councilmember.
Okay, so I-10 is the agreement for the City of Moreno Valley and the County of Riverside granting permission from the city to the County of Riverside to use Pettit as an access. I just want to commend city staff We've been working on this for a very long time. We got a call from the residents up on Pettit regarding the poor accessibility to that road. We worked tirelessly for months with the County of Riverside, and we finally got it done. So I want to publicly say thank you guys, Melissa and her team, City Manager Lee and Assistant City Manager Brian Mohan, for all your hard work on getting this done to this point. And if it passes tonight, we're going to move forward. I've already been in contact with the resident. Actually, I'm sorry, they've been in contact with me regarding this. So I'm very excited to see this finally get done. So thank you and your teams very much. And regarding the new building, if this passes, of course, the new building at the corporate yard, I know we're going to invest a lot of money in that, and I've been there many, many times, and to see us putting more money into our staff over there, our folks for meeting rooms and training rooms, is amazing. So thank you guys very much. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for those two items, because they're huge, and it's not really for us here, it's for our people. So both the citizens over that live off Pettit and the workers at the corporate yard, thank you guys very much for that.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. And just to piggyback and not repeat too much of what he already said, but also want to commend our city staff for item I-10, and really commend all of the residents, the constituents that actually live up on the north side of town, that in that particular part is technically unincorporated Riverside County within their jurisdiction. And it did take us a long time, but we managed to come to an agreement with the county. Staff was able to work out the details so that they can make some improvements up there. I know it's not what the constituents want, in full, but it will help to ensure that there's a better access for public safety personnel. Because when it first started, what actually prompted all of the issues was some heavy rains that we were getting here in the IE. And there was difficulty for ambulances and firefighter and police and trash pickup. They couldn't access those homes. So we were able to meet with them. We were able to reach out to our county supervisor and finally come to this agreement. So definitely glad that this is happening. And same item I-11, it's that city yard has been there for a long time. That building where they work out of has been there for a long time. So I know that they very much are looking forward to this, and it's well worth the investment. And again, as a reminder, the funding for this is coming out of corporate yard diff, so it can only be spent on corporate diff, just like the public art diff can only be spent on public art. This can only be spent on the corporate yard as well. So I look forward to seeing that built as well. Before we move into public comment, are there any other comments from the council or questions of staff? And I don't see any. So, Madam Clerk, I'll turn to you. Are there any requests to speak on the consent calendar?
We have one request to speak, Mayor, and that'll be Christopher Baca.
Good evening again. My reference is to the surplus land that's going to be used for low-income housing, and that's great. That's fantastic, and I hope it really happens, and I hope we have more housing available for low-income people. But on the other hand, I believe if the city is going to continue building low-income housing, there needs to be more oversight from the city as far as who is getting those low-income housing and how is it being managed. From what I understand, some of the low-income housing that has been built was very unfair as far as who got those apartments. I don't understand how a city can build low-income housing and have people from other states, other counties, other cities move into those. I don't understand that. That's just amazing to me. It's just mind-boggling. Why would the city build low-income housing for people from other areas? On the other hand, you need the oversight of the management company there too. From what I understand, the current one is in disarray. They don't have the staff or the people. I suppose because it's low-income housing, they don't have the money to hire the right people. But the from what I understand, the place is a mess as far as rats, infestations, children destroying the place, no security. And at one point you had the towing companies going in there and towing cars away because the management asked them to do patrols and tow away cars. That was illegal, very illegal. But yet the city turned a blind eye on that and didn't do anything about it. I think there has to be a lot of oversight before these type of decisions are made, and there has to be a lot of regulations, and we need to know what the city needs to understand, that, you know, they just can't fund anything and let everything run, you know, at you know, having people from other areas get those low-income housing. Thank you very much.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. That brings us now actually to seeking a motion from the council to approve staff's recommendations for the consent calendar.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please call for the vote. And that passes with 4 yeses. That brings us next to item J, which is the public hearings. And we'll go ahead and move into those items. Any questions or comments from the public on a public hearing matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Those wishing to speak should complete and submit a goldenrod speaker slip to the city clerk staff. We have, it looks like, 2 items on public hearings. The first one is J1, which is a public hearing to adopt substantial amendment number 3 to the CARES Act amendment to fiscal years 2019 to 2020 annual action plan. And I'll turn it over to, I believe it's Mr. Brian Mohan from the city manager's office.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. The item before you tonight is obviously a public hearing pursuant to HUD regulations to amend the CARES Act expenditure plan that was previously approved by this body. In essence, what it's doing is it's reducing the administration funding that was approved in that plan to redeploy it to the Wi-Fi network expansion program, which will benefit 2,700 low moderate income residents in census tracts 24505-2 and 46700-2. The reason why we do have administrative funding available as part of the original annual plan is because per HUD regulations, it requires the annual plan to have a 10% of award pursuant to HUD regulations go towards administration. But due to the operational efficiencies that we have with our staff and our contract services that oversee compliance for that particular program, we do have remaining administrative funding, and that's why we're going to go ahead and deploy it to this particular program and project. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Brian. A quick question. Could you share briefly how many new Wi-Fi hotspots or locations this is going to fund, and if you by any chance have the number off the top of your head, how many Wi-Fi hotspots or gardens we already have in place around the city?
Yeah, so once we have the approval and so forth, our technology services department will actually map the area and be able to find what is the opportune location and area to be able to drop those Wi-Fi connections. So on that, I don't have the exact number. But when you look at our current Wi-Fi gardens, we're already above 35, the number of 35 locations within our city, mainly at park and public facilities. But we're looking at, in this particular project, moving away from parks and public facilities and being able to really tackle the 2 tracks and be able to provide some Wi-Fi. So we're going to be even looking into utilization of our light poles and so forth. So we really, once the funding is available and approved, and we still have to have HUD approval as well, then we will really be able to delve into the locations.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brian. Are there any other questions for staff from the council? I don't see any, so we will go ahead and open the hearing. Thank you once again, Brian, for the presentation. The hearing is now opened, and at this time, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No request to speak, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing that there are no requests to speak, we'll go ahead and close the public testimony portion of this item. And I'll go ahead and turn this back up to the dais for any comments, deliberation, if not, seeking a motion for staff approval.
So moved.
Second that.
There is a motion and a second. Please call for the vote. And that passes with 4 yeses. And that brings us now to item J2, which is Sunset Crossing North. It's a general plan amendment, change of zone, conditional use permit, and tentative tract map. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Sean Kelleher from Community Development.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. The item before you for consideration this evening is for a 135-unit single-family planned unit development, which requires a general plan amendment, change of zone, conditional use permit for a planned unit development, and tentative tract map. The Planning Commission considered this proposal on July 25th, 2024, and recommended the council approve the project. The project site is generally located on the south side of Cottonwood Avenue, east of Nason Street. The applicant is requesting approval of a general plan amendment from Residential 3, as shown on the screen, to Residential 10. They are also requesting a change of zone to rezone the property from Residential 3 District to Residential Single Family 10 District. The proposed amendments to the land use designation and zoning district accommodate the proposed development density of 7 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent with the density permitted under approved entitlements located to the south of the project site. The applicant has submitted a conditional use permit as noted previously for a planned unit development and tract map for a site developing with 135 single-family units with lots ranging in size from 4,500 square feet up to 10,640 square feet. As part of the proposed project, a new 1.6-acre public park is proposed, which will include a splash pad, basketball courts, and picnic areas, as well as incorporate a walking trail into its overall design. The proposed building elevations include Spanish, Tuscan, and traditional styles with various color combinations and range in size from approximately 1,900 to 2,600 square feet in size. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, initial studies and a mitigated negative declaration were prepared for this project. Mitigation measures, where necessary to reduce impacts to a less than significant level, were incorporated. The environmental documents prepared for this project demonstrates that there will not have a significant impact on the environment. Therefore, staff recommends the City Council approve the proposed project consistent with the Planning Commission's recommendation. This concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate the presentation. That brings us next to council questions of staff, if there are any. Quick question. The Planning Commission recommended approval. Was that a unanimous approval? Do you by any chance know?
The approval was 6-1.
6-1. And on the project itself, for the park component of it, I know one of the things that residents ask for a lot is to make sure that the playground areas are shaded, especially for the summertime when it gets really hot. I saw some pictures, some renderings of the park itself, but will the playground areas have any kind of shaded structures to protect those?
So the final design of the park facility is ultimately going to be coordinated with our Parks and Community Services Department, where they'll be specifying the equipment that's installed.
I see Jeremy nodding, saying yes. So okay, that's good to know. And a splash pad, right? I think that would be, if this is approved, the third one that we have. I know that's a hot topic during the summertime again. So okay, I think we have other questions from the council. Would any other council members like to ask any questions? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
So I see yet another general plan amendment that's coming through. So I know that we're asking for this to increase, but why are we increasing the size? What exactly are we always increasing the size? Because I think the question that is continually coming up, at least for myself, is we have a general plan. I know there's some things going on with our current general plan, but I myself, as well as residents, would like to know, why are we always doing a general plan amendment, especially when it's coming to housing? Because we are asking residents to know what your area is zoned for when you buy your houses. We're asking our residents to understand what things are zoned for. And so here we go again with another general plan amendment asking us to increase housing density.
So the application before you is a proposal that ultimately the city staff do need to process and bring before you for your consideration. Applicants are allowed to ask for general plan amendments as well as other legislative actions, and we bring them forward for your consideration and your final action.
And so around this location, what is the housing density around this location exactly?
So the project directly to the south is similarly developed or is similarly approved for approximately 7 dwelling units to the acre. The properties that are located directly to the west of this site were part of our downtown center zoning designation associated with our recently, set aside general plan. The development to the east is a combination, or is a combination of downtown center and residential 3, and then to the north it is residential 2 agricultural across Cottonwood.
Okay.
So ultimately they were designing this to tie in and be an extension of the development to the south, which was downtown center, as well as tie into the downtown center designations to the west.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the council for staff?
Just one real quick one. Sean, do you know if it's actually 10? Because oftentimes they'll say R10, but it's really only like 7.
Yes, this development is 7 dwelling units to the acre. That's what it's been designed at.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. And if there are no further questions from the dais, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing to begin the public testimony portion. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have the first 3 speakers are Seth Cox, followed by Bob Palomares, followed by David Zeitz.
Hello again, Seth Cox, District 3, just to the east of this development, okay? I'm not a traffic engineer, but reading your maps that you have out there, I have some observations. There's going to be 135 homes built in the north development, okay? And you're proposing what they're now calling A Street as the ingress and egress point for all 135 homes. That's the only way they got in, north to Cottonwood and south to Alessandro, okay? I would suggest opening up and connect Bay Street, which is already there, on the west side of the property to create another ingress and egress point, okay? And also extend Bay Avenue to the east to the Marion Road easement to include ingress and egress for the houses that are on the south L of the property and not having to go all the way to east to the A Street to get out. And I would like to point out, this is called Sunset Crossing North. That would probably assume that would be a Sunset Crossing South, right? And there is, lo and behold. It adds another 108 homes on 19 acres just to the south of that then will connect Alessandro to Cottonwood in a full-length housing. So that's 243 houses on approximately 47 acres. And I believe they also applied for a zoning change for that. So we get back to our general plan that's out there, supposed to have been good and everything, but every housing project that is on the East End right now has applied for a zoning change, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? It was mentioned about what was the zoning to the east of this. I happen to own 5 acres just to the east of that. And so if I wanted to apply for a new zoning, could I build 35 homes on my 5 acres? I don't know. Would it be approved? Probably not, because it's hillside residential, and I couldn't get it approved. So we really do need to address that general plan more before we keep building houses throughout Moreno Valley. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Bob Palomares, followed by David Zeitz, followed by Luis Palomares.
Good evening again. My opinion is that, well, we know we need housing, that's for sure. And the general plan, you know, it's a living document. It's days change, time change, situations change, so do the general plans. I mean, you got to stay, there's guardrails, but, you know, you got to tweak them sometimes. And I think this is a pretty good project. Sunset, it meets all the criteria. You know, it's kind of strange, but sometimes no matter what comes up here, it seems to get bumped around. You know, no, not this, not that, you know, like you can't make up your mind. I mean, you got these professionals to my left here that give you their professional advice. They read the laws, they read all the codes, you know, they're supposed to know it. So you just follow the recommendations, and for the most part, they do a good job. So that's all. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are David Zeitz, followed by Luis Palomares.
Good evening. My comments are my own for living in that particular area and knowing what's going to happen in the future. We talk about general plan amendments. Everybody thinks we get 4 a year, so we can only change 4 pieces of property. What we don't understand is they can jam 10 projects into each one of those amendments. We could have an unlimited amount of zoning changes. People say, well, we'll let this one go through because we only have 3 more left. No, we could have 100 more. But that's not very clear when this is all explained. Okay, to the project itself. I do believe they are putting too many houses in the area. It is not consistent with the area. There was a lot of controversy on the project that was below it. Parking is a big factor. Yes, we're meeting the minimum parking allowances, but minimum code is minimum code. That means that's minimum. That is not always what is best. We need to have a little room around the houses up there. People don't even have room to put a little pool in their backyard, park an RV, something of that nature. The only people that make money on that is the developers and the storage unit people. We keep getting developers coming in and buying large pieces of property at a discounted rate because they are zoned R1, R5, and then they come in and want to change it to R10. Now, they say it's R7. That 7 also includes the parks, which takes up space, the roads, the easements. So your lots are not as big as you think they would be with an R7. They are more like R9s and R10s. They had to go R10s because they jammed the other stuff in there. I think we should stick with the R3, stay consistent with our general plan. This is the second time this piece of property has gone through 2 general plan updates and has not been changed. So why are we changing it now? Except for the developer to make more money because he can get the property cheaper and come to us. And people are blind. They see houses and say, let's build them. REMA comes up on this, as our mayor was just awarded a certificate saying that we are way ahead on our housing. We do not need to jam more housing into property to try and reach REMA. We've already done it. We have surpassed it. So let's make this city a nice city and not a ghetto. Thank you.
The next speaker is Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. We need housing. Does it take an act of Congress? Wow, we need housing. So what's the answer? Some say no, some say yes. And that, you know, when we started off way back when, 40 years ago, they started all the way from the west coming this way, going east, and we're still going east. And they're still going to bring a lot of housing there. I got 2 daughters that live out there and a niece, and, you know, hey, the traffic is the traffic. We're going to have it. People are coming and buying houses there, and we need all the houses we could get. We need all the houses we can get. So I think this is whatever you got to tweak to make it happen, I hope. And as far as parking, that's always a problem too. Parking, when they build a lot of units, we need enough parking. We don't need to park on the street. We need to park in a driveway. So that's my concern all the time, because you know, you don't have one family living in a house no more. There's 2 families. They have 3, 4 cars now. So parking's always an issue. It's always an issue when they're building new projects. And then they're going to have a park. That's great. We always need another park and a splash pad. That's great. So, hey, I'm in support of this project. Let's see what happens today with it. And as far as, I won't even go there. There's no point. Thank you.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that will now bring us back to the dais. I'll go ahead and close the public testimony portion and bring it back to the dais for my colleagues and I for any comments or deliberation. And I do have just 1 or 2 more questions as well, and I do see some hands raised. On the transportation topic, just looking at the map, on the southwest side of the map, I don't see a cul-de-sac, and there's been mentions of a second project to the south. So will this ultimately combine with that second project and connect to Bay or any other arterial streets in the area?
So yes, the previous project, what is considered Sunset Crossing South, was previously approved by the Planning Commission. It was consistent with the zoning designation, which is why it did not come before the City Council. So that street does connect through, and it also does connect through Bay as well.
Got it. And then one other question, because I saw a similar project in the area closer to Nason. There was a center median put in, I think this is right by Discovery Church, between Oliver and I forget the other street, but there's exits from Discovery Church and then from I believe the neighborhood as well, but there's no way to make a turn, to the north side of Alessandro. So I was just wondering, on the northern side of Cottonwood here, just want to make sure that we plan for that, because to the project that I'm talking about by Discovery Church, if you're heading eastbound on Alessandro, the median doesn't allow you to make a left to cross, and also there's you can't not make a legal U-turn either. So just for like circulation purposes, you guys are the experts, you guys are the engineers, you know more than we do in that sense. But just want to make sure we voice those concerns so that the circulation is there for folks to be able to get around. So maybe not so much a question, but more of a comment. So I'll go ahead and turn to my colleagues here for any deliberation. I see Councilmember Delgado.
I just have a question, or a couple questions and a comment regarding the residents that are nearby. Were they contacted and asked? Because they usually come here and they're like, I don't want this project, but we don't have any here, which is good because I'm assuming they were contacted.
So city staff did our traditional noticing associated with this project out to 600 feet. My understanding, based off of the conversation that occurred at the Planning Commission meeting, was that the applicant had also reached out to the neighborhoods as well.
Okay, that's a good sign that they're not here, and they could come. But I'm just saying that there's typically lots of folks here. But we need housing for sure, in my opinion. But this is not my opinion. That I'm going to say next is that a lot of folks that are buying these types of houses don't want big yards. So we're going to start seeing a lot more. The KB homes on Ironwood and LaSalle are smaller lots as well, and they've already sold them. So people are buying them very quickly because they don't want, and it's not my opinion. I have a pretty big yard, but they don't want a lot of maintenance. They're working. They just want to come home, relax, water what they have in the backyard or water their plants or whatever, and call it a day. So I think this is a good project. I do agree with the egress and ingress. I know you took notes. I was watching you take notes as the speaker was talking about ingress and egress. So just kind of make sure that the developer understands that we're on them on that, and that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any further deliberation from the council? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
So I think I get what my colleague is saying about people not wanting backyards. I think I push back on that a little bit, that narrative. I know that's been the narrative when we're doing these projects more and more, that people don't want backyards, but I push back on that narrative because they're buying what's available, right? When I go to the city of Paris, they're getting yards. So I think for me, I would like city staff to still remember that there is still a community that doesn't mind a yard, that doesn't mind having a backyard for their families to grow in, because I'm seeing these projects more and more cutting up what somebody would probably buy if it was available to them. So I think I would love us to start expanding past that point of just like people don't want backyards, because I'm sorry, that's a lie. They're selling like hotcakes in the city of Paris, which is neighboring near me, Rancho Verde. They have backyards. Their homes are still coming through with those. So I would like the city to start to look at it from that perspective of we can figure out how to get a mix of the two. Like if you want a smaller, fine. I think we need to not get into this habit though of cutting up these areas and just assuming that residents or people coming into the city aren't going to buy. Just like I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, they're either going to buy it because they can afford it, or they're not going to buy it, right? Like they're going to buy where they can afford. But this idea of people not wanting backyards, I've heard way too many residents tell me they've been looking and would look to buy a newer house in Moreno Valley again if they could see like my family's expanding, and I would like more area for my family to expand. So I would like the city to really, instead of always pushing general plan amendments, and I know that they have the right to do that, is to kind of look at it from that perspective also. Is that there are still residents and there are still people who come to this community that would like to be able to expand. They're not asking for acre properties, but I think we do need to keep that in mind.
Well, I'm just saying that that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that they like the option of a smaller lot. So I don't think they're lying. Those folks that are actually saying it, that's what they want. So,
and I think I'll just chime in, kind of take the middle ground here, because I think we're getting a little of both in terms of projects that are coming to the city of Moreno Valley. So I definitely hear, both sides there. And I think ultimately, these developers, they do a lot of research. They do a lot of market research, right? They crunch the numbers to see what, not only what is in demand, but what can potential homeowners actually afford in a particular area. And, over my 7.5 years of being here on the dais, I know that in order for these projects to pencil out, they consider all those factors, how much can people afford to pay for housing, and then based on that, they kind of decide how large the homes are going to be, how large the lots are going to be, the properties, and but I just want to commend our staff again for making sure that we get community benefits as part of these projects as well. Another park, a splash pad, these are all good things that not only this neighborhood will be able to benefit from, but also everybody else around that, has young families, including some of us up here on the dais. So I just want to thank our staff as well. Are there any further comments from the dais? If not, we'll go ahead and head into a vote. Okay, I'm seeking a motion and a second.
A motion to approve staff recommendation.
I second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please call for a vote. And that passes with 4 yeses. And got a request to take a quick break, so we'll take a 5-minute recess. Excuse me, 5-minute recess, and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to our regular city council meeting. Apologies for my voice. I got a Halls now, so hopefully we'll be okay and get through the rest of the meeting. But that was J2, and we'll go ahead and move to the next item on our agenda, which is K, general business. And we do have, it looks like, one item, which is K1. That is the Office of the Mayor and City Council Sponsorship Program. And we'll start first with a report from our city clerk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. So pretty much the purpose of this report is to condense previously allocated events that were included in previous city manager parks budgets, along with the opportunity to sponsor specific organizations for their local efforts. So the one-time annual event sponsorships are historical events and gatherings that the city has attended or sponsored previously, such as the March Air Force Air Show that was mentioned in last year's report, which is a biannual occurrence, and the city sponsorship from last year. The sponsorship figures are acquired through historical analysis or confirmation from the hosting organization sponsorship package, which may fluctuate from year to year. And then the organization sponsorships, continuing last year's precedent, the following organizations are selected by the city mayor and mayor pro tem, associating funds to organizations via the remainder from the one-time annual events and the number of organizations the mayor and MPT have selected. All organizations are approved by staff referring to the California Secretary of State's entity business search, where LLCs and 501s are listed along their current standings, so with federal and state tax board. I am available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into council questions of staff, if there are any. I'm looking to my colleagues here.
Questions or?
This is for questions of staff. Don't see any questions at the moment. So we'll go ahead and move into public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We have one speaker, Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. I think this is great. You know, the sponsorships that we're doing, and let's see who gets them this year and keep it up. I just want to commend the staff and the board. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. So that brings us now to council deliberation and a vote. Would any council members like to make any comments?
I would just real quick. I just read the list. I mean, I read the list in the report, but thank you guys for coming up with these organizations to sponsor for the city of Moreno Valley. Last year, we went to most of this stuff, and to see our name on their sponsorship forms, and then they announced the city of Moreno Valley is very rewarding, and they're all for great causes. So thank you for you two and city staff for working on these.
Thank you. Any further comments? I have one or two. Okay. So I actually just want to thank my colleagues as well. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for working with me and staff to come up with this list. Last year it was Councilmember Delgado and I that worked our way through that list. So, you know, we have just so many organizations that deserve our help, and I know there's some that aren't on the list that also deserve our help, but you know, it's a little something to hopefully help them in their operations and to be able to serve our community in everything that they do. So just want to thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you to staff and to my colleagues here on the council as well.
And I just want to add, as the mayor is saying, we worked on this list, and one thing that I wanted to stress to the mayor was that we needed to switch up the groups And because we have plenty of nonprofits out here that we wanted to support and give things to, and wanted to make sure, especially with the organizations, that we got some new nonprofits in there that maybe people in the community don't know about, and maybe they might see them and inquire more about them, and just to kind of spread the love throughout Moreno Valley. And I also tried to make sure, and the mayor and I both did, that we were hitting different types of organizations, not the same types. I mean, as you can see this year, we have the Muslim Family Foundation, which does very important work regarding mental health within the Muslim community out here. We have Handy Blessed Hands, which was working with young men and teaching them skills, handyman skills, things like that. Starting Over Inc. for people that are formerly incarcerated in our community who are trying to get back on their feet. Future First Entertainment is a film nonprofit that works with local students around here and does a lot of film production, showing them how to cut film, run film, edit it. So we really tried to make sure that we were including a little bit of everyone in here. And then, of course, I know my favorite and sometimes Jeremy's ultimate favorite, because he won't ever admit this, the Moreno Valley Trail Seekers. We wanted to make sure that we just kind of included everyone in this. And so I'm hoping for years to come that when we're doing these lists, no matter who is sitting either in the mayor's seat or who's sitting as pro tem, that they always think of like ways to rotate so that we're not always seeing the same names on this list.
I also agree. There's a lot of diversity here. A lot of them are familiar, and I think that the notion that our nonprofits will see that we support them, and others who have nonprofits will see that Moreno Valley supports them, and maybe somebody wants to start a nonprofit, and they'll see that the diversity that we have here in our support is great. I'd like to see some programs that deal with maybe like some special needs. I'd like to try and fund like nights where we could have sensory nights where maybe we do something where it's quieter or darker, or geared towards the community of special needs in our city. Maybe doing some youth sports where we could fund low income, because I know it's very expensive to be in youth sports, and there's so much that the kids benefit, not from winning, but from playing together, and to be able to provide opportunities for our community is excellent. So I think all of these organizations, the event sponsorships are all events I think all of us attended last year, so I'm happy to attend them this year. They're great events that do a lot of charitable work in our community. So I'm also very happy with the list that has been proposed, and if it's time, I would motion to approve as recommended the staff or the council sponsorship program.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote. And we do have a running kind of joke with the Student of the Month with Mayor Vargas, always making sure that we kind of are supporting our students there. So Mayor Vargas, the ball's in your court, sir. All right, so that brings us to item L, which is the Regional Commission and Committee Board reports. We have a few, actually several, and we'll go first to Councilmember Delgado for the March Joint Powers Commission and the Riverside County Transportation Commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with the March Joint Powers Authority. Tonight I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, September 11th. We heard an update on the base's 452nd Air Mobility Wing and another on the Air and Marine Operations Center, or AMOC. We heard a report on the Sheriff's truck enforcement patrols on Van Buren Boulevard. And then we received an annual report on the Foreign Trade Zone. We approved moving the dates and location for the JPA Commission meetings to accommodate requests for live streaming. We've never had live streaming before in those meetings. Starting on October 2nd, the regular commission meetings will occur on the first Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. in the board chambers at the Riverside County Administrative Center, or CAC. And that concludes my update on the last March Joint Powers Commission meeting. And if you want to know more about the stats on the truck enforcement patrols or the report on the foreign trade zone, just contact the city staff and they'll get you that information regarding that. I'm also providing updates from the Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting that was held on September 11th. The commission approved an agreement with the California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans, for quality management services in support of a project study report, project development support, or PSR-PDS, for the North Main Corona Transit Connector project. The commission awarded an agreement to Transmax for software as a service for the Interstate 15 Smart Freeway pilot project for a 2-year term in the amount not to exceed $3,497,497. And that concludes my report on the last Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting that was held on September 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next is Mayor Pro Tem Bernard, and she has 2 reports for RCHCA and RTA.
Thank you, Mayor. At the RCHCA Board of Directors meeting on September 12th, the activity reports for agency attendance roster, the Stevens Kangaroo Rat fee collections, and reserve management and monitoring efforts, contracts and grants, single signature authority reserve management for the Southwestern Riverside County Multi-Species Lake Matthews Reserves, and fiscal year 2023-2024 annual review and financial analysis were received and filed. Additionally, staff recommendations were approved for the following: authorization for professional services for an SKR fee audit, 4th quarter budget amendment mainly due to an increased revenue, amendment to the RCHCA Conflict of Interest Code, endowment funds request for Sycamore Canyon for habitat management equipment. Additionally, the board was presented with an update on the Stevens Kangaroo Rat Habitat Conservation Plan, which is set to expire in 2026. The board voted to authorize RCHCA staff to coordinate and appropriate agencies to update the SKR Habitat Conservation Plan and renew necessary permits. The board also authorized staff to solicit proposals for a nexus fee study and develop comprehensive update to the Stevens Kangaroo Rat mitigation fee schedule. This study will assess the adequacy of the current SKR mitigation fee and recommend any necessary adjustments. The next Board of Directors meeting is scheduled for December 12th, 2024 at 11:30 a.m. at Western Riverside Council of Governments off of University Avenue in Riverside. And I also have the report for the Riverside Transit Agency, RTA. The meeting was held on September 4th, so tonight I'm providing updates from the RTA Board Administrative and Operations meeting held on September 4th. The committee authorized the award of an agreement to Forbes Construction for the purchase of installation of 14 air conditioning units. Last year, RTA was awarded the Regional Early Action Plan Granting, aka REAP 2.0 funds, in the amount of $378,635. As such, committee approved the use of REAP 2.0 funds toward the Go Micro Transit Pilot Program extension. And that concludes my report on the last RTA Board Administration and Operations meeting, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem, for those updates. Next up, we have WRCOG from Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. At the WRCOG Executive Committee meeting on September 9th, 2024, reports for fiscal department activities, committees and agency activities, external committees, IREN monthly activities, and the 2024 General Assembly were received and filed. Additionally, staff recommendations were approved for the following: fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment related to the HERO program, the TUMP program agreements for credits and reimbursements, the 2024 TUMP Southwest 5-year Transportation Improvement Program, deferral of foreclosures related to PACE. We amended the WRCOG Conflict of Interest Code and selected Admiral William McRaven, a retired U.S. Navy 4-star admiral, best-selling author, and former Chancellor of the University of Texas System, as the 2025 General Assembly Speaker. We increased the maximum bond authorization for the CPACE program and the policy for adding agencies to the WRCOG structure. The Executive Committee also approved the TUMP Nexus study and updated fee schedule. All WRCOG member agencies must adopt an updated TUMF ordinance before the new fee becomes effective in their respective jurisdiction. The fee is targeted to become effective April 1st, 2025. The next meeting will be held on October 7th at 2 p.m. at the County of Riverside Administrative Center, the CAC, at 4080 Lemon Street, first floor in the board chambers. This concludes my report.
Thank you. And lastly, we have a report for the Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority. And that was a meeting held on September 9th, 2024. At the RCA Board of Directors meeting, the activity reports for MSHCP fee collections, joint project review status, property acquisition, agency investments, consultants, and quarterly public engagement metrics and single signature authority were received and filed. Additionally, the board received a state and a federal legislative update. The updates included a recommendation that the Board of Directors support Proposition 4, which is the Parks, Environment, Energy, and Water Bond Measure, placed on the November general election ballot through the passage of Senate Bill 867 that was authored by Senator Ben Allen from El Segundo, which will provide $10 billion in state bonds for various projects and programs if enacted, including $870 million for land acquisition to support habitat conservation. The board voted to stay neutral as it relates to Proposition 4. Lastly, the board voted to authorize acquisition of tax defaulted properties from the Riverside County Treasurer Tax Collector for open space for wildlife and plant life conservation. The next executive committee meeting is scheduled for October 7th, 2024 at 12:30 p.m. at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors chambers. And that'll conclude the report for RCA and all of our reports for this evening. And that brings us to M for Employee Association reports, and we don't have one this evening, which brings us to, some would say, the most exciting part of our meetings. That is item N on our agenda, the famous city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members, City Council. Just 2 items tonight. Just a reminder that our next Beautify Mill Valley event is October 12th. This is our last event for Beautify of the year. It's going to be at 8 a.m. We're always looking for volunteers. I think there was a speaker about volunteering. Also, if any schools, they want to do any type of civic engagement, this is a fantastic opportunity. We always serve really nice refreshments, and also after the cleanup, lunch is provided. So please do come out and sign up. And also, secondly, is that we also have our next free dump day. This is Saturday, October 12th, from 6 a.m. to 12 at the Badlands landfill. And this is something that Councilmember Delgado was adamant about, that we get and negotiate with the county. So we're able to have this as part of the agreement with the county, and so we offer these free dump dates. And it's only for Moreno Valley residents, so you have to show your ID, and it's only limited to 600 and the first 612 cars. So make sure if you're interested, you show your ID and get in line for the free dump date. That concludes the city manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, City Manager. Appreciate the report as always. And that brings us to the closing comments from the council, and we'll go to D1 with Councilmember Banca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. I wanted to say there is no agenda item, and I probably should have brought it up at the approving the order of the agenda for future agenda items. So before I start my closing comments, I mean, you can run the time, but I want to talk about bringing some items back to our future agenda. I sit on as the liaison for the Environmental History and Preservation Board and the Library Commission. And there's a lot that's happening during those meetings, and I don't have a place other than my closing comments to bring it back like the way we do with the regional commissions. And at the same time, I don't know what you guys are doing at like traffic, senior citizen, what else? The Arts Commission, the Emerging Leaders, they've canceled twice because of no quorum, but I only find out because I'm the alternate, so I don't know if you guys know that we need more members in the Emerging Leaders, because if even one of them says they're not going to show up, they have to cancel their meeting because there's no quorum. So these things we're not reporting back to each other as the liaisons for these committees. So I'd like to look at putting a future agenda item that we give some reports about our commissions, our local commissions, not just the regionals. So when you build the agenda, that you look at that. And in relations to the Environmental Historical Preservation Board, I attended the last meeting, and I was reading through the minutes because I was at conference the meeting before, and in the minutes, there was direction from the commission that they wanted to meet more frequently. But at that meeting that was held this month, it wasn't on their agenda, even though the minutes showed that it would be brought back for them to vote. So they wanted to meet more frequently. The meetings in September this month, their bylaws say they meet every other month. So their November meeting will be canceled because of a holiday, so they won't meet again until January. They've called for a special meeting because they want to bring to us that they can meet every month. So rather than wait for them to write it up, we can ask staff to write it up for us and to bring us to look at their frequency of meetings, even or maybe just all of the commissions, their frequency, because maybe if we have this on the agenda, the commissioners from the other commissions could come and tell us how they're feeling about it. Because on the environmental history preservation, they're feeling that they're wasting their time because they don't have any action. They haven't done anything. It was dormant for a long time, and now that we have a good group and they're active, they're engaged, and they want to do more, but their frequency is so low. I would like to see us bring back the commissions back for review so that we can hear from our commissioners and see if this is something that we can do here without having them go from meeting and meeting and meeting, but we can do that for them. So those are two items that I'd like to have as an item for future agendas, and then to talk about our commissions. So how would we do that, staff?
Well, first of all, a motion would have to be provided to your colleagues.
Okay, so I motion.
And then we can then work on what that motion actually entails from a staff perspective.
Okay.
Just for clarification, you want to break up both items to two separate motions?
Yes.
So.
Okay, so when I motion to add to our agenda an item for future agenda items so that all of us can have a chance to pass the mic and talk about items that we'd like to bring back. Do I have a second? Yeah, okay.
Second.
Can you call for a vote? Or the mayor can call for the vote.
And I think, I mean, we could take a vote, but I think all you need
You don't
is a
have to take a
second.
vote, you just
No
need
vote?
a motion.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
two,
Just
so that will be added to a future agenda.
Yes.
And then there was a second one.
And then the second one I want to bring back to the next meeting because it's to them, it's been pushed already for them, for the environmental history. So I'd like to bring to the next meeting a discussion and possible action on our local boards and commissions.
I'll second that.
For clarification, is it just for the environmental health?
No, for our boards.
All the
Yeah,
commission- okay.
let them, I mean, maybe maybe the rest of them are okay, because I'm not a liaison, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know how the Arts Commission is, I don't even know which, without having to look it up, I don't know which of you, or the seniors, or maybe there's things.
I'm actually reporting on the senior tonight.
Oh, see, because we don't do that, and unless it's in, and then sometimes I'm listing all the events I go to, and I look at my time and I have a minute, I'm like, oh, so, yeah, so an item to talk about future agendas would be nice. Okay, so we have those two. Okay, let me get back to the things I've done since the last meeting.
Real quick,
Wants to
just
say
for clarification on the motion and the second. So as there's a multitude of factors that come into this. So policy 1.10, which is basically the procedural document for boards and commissions.
Is it
1.10?
Is it the same one that sets the time for our meetings?
No, that's 1.0. So that's 1.01A. So here's what I'm thinking is I think the council member would really like to bring policy 1.10 back for review because that does stipulate what the boards and commissions purview is in their rules and procedures. I do believe she probably wants to also bring back Section 2 of the Muni Code and a possible ordinance change because there's also stipulated procedural as to what their sphere of influence is related to any boards and commissions there. So if you're going to review one, you might as well review both holistically. And then I would assume that, I know we're looking at the Environmental Preservation, Historical and Preservation Board, but I'm also hearing that there's all of the boards you want to bring.
I'd like for them to have the opportunity. I wouldn't like for this to go, or some commissioner that's maybe on arts to be watching the meeting and say, oh, well, we wanted that too, we didn't get. So I'd like it to be open to the commissions, but my intent is I already know the Environmental Historical Preservation Committee would like to meet more frequently than every odd-numbered month.
Okay, and then I think as part of the motion, if it's okay with council, that either the motion or the second work with the city clerk just to identify all of the parameters that we potentially have to bring back.
Yeah, that's fine. And we can kind of flesh out the details, because I'm thinking it could be solved by whoever chairs that that committee coming back and just like they do at the school district and just giving a report back.
Yeah, they could do that as well, but they don't and we don't. And then maybe it's that it's on the agenda and I say, actually, I have the chair here, and welcome them, and they do it. And maybe when the chair's not here, then I'll do it,
Yeah.
but some kind of report, because I have no idea. I hear, the Arts Commission or the emerging leaders, like, I didn't know that because I don't attend because we can't, because it might cause quorum. And
Yeah, so just so that we're not going into full-on deliberation, I think it's clear now what the motion is, and there is a second on that, so that we can bring that item back, I think you said, for the next council meeting.
because I know that, at least for my commission, that it's time,
Time sensitive.
it's time sensitive because I missed the July meeting and they talked about it and thought it was coming back since July. And now we're in September and they don't meet again, they had to call a special meeting. So,
So that item will come back on
We'll
our
make-
next agenda for city council?
Yes, we'll make sure
And,
that something
we
is
can-
on the October 1st agenda.
Yeah, we'll go into it at that time.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
And it's still time for your closing comments as well.
Yeah, I'm just reading which ones I want to pull. Are one of you going to bring the closed session agenda time? Or do you want me to motion for that too?
Well, while you're there.
While I'm doing it, I'd also like to bring back 101.A regarding the time of our council meetings in relations to our closed session begin time, as that we don't seem to have, we're rushing or we're pushing items to the following month. We only meet twice a month. We have business that we need to do. And I think my colleagues would prefer if we meet at 4 o'clock rather than pushing items. And so I motioned to bring back the 101A for the agenda and closed session.
I'll support that, and whatever relevant, parts of our Muni Code or our resolutions or ordinances that apply to that, to change the time to 4 o'clock, I support that.
Agreed. The only thing I want to make sure of is there's no change to special presentations that typically start at 5:30.
Can we wrap that up? Can we also look at that, the time of that we start there? Maybe we won't have any action, but we'd like to have the option to be able to review that time. And while we're at it, we might as well put in the open session. So let's look at our agenda times, start and end times, start times for the 3 meetings that we have twice a month.
Yeah, so if we're bringing back policy 101A, technically, it's an open book if
Okay.
it's coming, and so based on direction of staff, but we'll key on just the times of the closed session, the special presentations, and any open session.
Right, because maybe we could say special presentations are between 5 and, maybe we'll do a 5-minute one once, or, right, but we'd like the option to be able to make that decision.
And we're talking about the times, right? We're not talking about dates or,
I don't think.
so we're not opening
Yeah,
up. We're
just-
talking about the times of the meeting. Okay.
Just the times.
Closed session, special presentations, and regular meeting. Yep. Okay.
Throw it in there. Okay.
Okay.
Could we also bring back, so it's gonna be hard, 9.02.040 and 050? We had discussions this afternoon about the general plan amendments to zoning, and I'd like for us to discuss that as well. So could we have that come back and for discussion?
Well, as those are general plan, as those are land use codes, those are ordinances. So is that a request and a motion to bring back an ordinance revision, or just to have a?
I'd like staff to prepare the proper amendments to make applicable policy changes.
Okay, well, without knowing what the applicable changes are, I'm not quite sure.
Review the policies, 9.02, 040, 050.
Those are not policies, those are ordinances.
Ordinances.
Yeah, so that would require a first and second reading. So typically what happens is staff is bringing a revision to council to actually have that read into the administrative record on a first and second. It is typically not brought to the board.
So we need a subcommittee to do the work first?
It would probably be best if this body would like to do a subcommittee to work with the Assistant City Manager over development.
Okay. Okay, so the mayor would assign the subcommittee? Or we could just do it?
Once there's a second on your motion, then as part of that motion and second, would have to just be agreed on who would be on the sub, which quite frankly could be the motion and the second.
I'm trying to understand exactly what the motion is. I know it's about general plan amendments and maybe looking at changing our ordinances. I'm just not fully clear on what that would be. So if it's a subcommittee, then that if there's support for that, then that could be done. If not, it's something that can come on an agenda for a future meeting so we can have a discussion about it. Just again, so we're not going into full-on deliberation right now. We need to put it on an agenda to have that discussion. So I'm just not fully clear on what it would be about.
You want to do it with the city attorney?
I'll leave it up to you if you're making a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that you and I join a subcommittee to look at these ordinances. Second that.
Would you be okay with maybe just meeting first so that I have a clear understanding, and then maybe at the next meeting we could formalize it in a motion?
Yep.
Okay, I think that might be better, just so it's clear.
Okay, one more.
And just for clarity, it wouldn't be in ordinances, it would be specifically Municipal Code Section 9.02.040 and Section 9.02050. Is that correct, Councilmember?
That's correct.
Okay, so it would be a municipal code and not a specific ordinance that approved them.
That way it might be easier, because the subcommittee is going to take longer. If we just have a meeting, one-on-one, we could look at the ordinance and make some changes. Yeah, that'll be faster.
That's there. Okay, and then is it an ordinance or a municipal code, or what is the rule that allows city staff to sign contracts rather than the mayor?
That is not only.
Settlements. Settlements and contracts are not signed by the mayor, they're signed by city staff.
Those are in ordinance as well as policy.
Can you tell me the ordinance so I can motion to bring those ordinances back?
I won't be able to say the ordinance.
Okay,
We don't talk about ordinance, we talk about sections. So that would be in section 1 or 2 that describes the mayoral duties and the executive duties for the city manager.
Okay, I'd like to bring back the executive duties of the city manager and the mayor ordinance so that we can have the mayor signing contracts and settlements, because anything the mayor signs, we get copies of. So that's the way to keep the board informed and transparent. Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that's in my list. In addition to these things, I also attended a beautiful 36 Park opening in D4, so I won't take any more of that. I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem will share about that park, beautiful park. And then we opened up 2 businesses and ribbon cut. Welcomed Dutch Brothers and Aluge in District 1. Dutch Brothers is a coffee business that seems to require their employees to drink their coffee. They are upbeat young people who are spirited and joyful when you come and get your coffee. So if you haven't had enough coffee yet, when you pull up, it may be a little bit of a culture shock, but I assure you, the traffic, I drive up and down the street where Dutch Brothers is not that bad, and the coffee is delicious. So if you haven't been there yet, please come by Dutch Brothers. And if you have not visited Tulum in Mexico and you want a little sneak peek, you can visit the Aluge restaurant on Alessandro. It just opened recently, and I will tell you the atmosphere is very similar to the culture of Tulum. So I enjoyed the grand opening, and I plan to go back. So I suggest you visit these restaurants throughout Moreno Valley. And also I attended the El Grito, which is the celebration of Mexican Independence Day. The number of residents and visitors that we had on Sunday night was intense, because last year it was on Friday night and we had 5,000 people. So we figured, and it was warmer, so we figured this year it'd be a lot less. No, did we get a number yet? Was it more than 5,000? Jeremy?
I don't have a number yet. But
It was
it's
a
around
lot of people, and I mean, it was cold. It was, but it was great. It was a wonderful event. I'm so proud to be part of that. And our performers, I'm not sure who's choosing those, but they're phenomenal. So thank you to everybody who took part in bringing the celebration. I look forward to the next celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, closing comments from Councilmember Delgado.
Okay. I attended a community event in one of the new neighborhoods in the north end of Moreno Valley, and they really focused on neighborhood watch. And they literally have a neighborhood watch, the best I've ever seen. I call them nosy neighbors, but that's exactly what their job is as a neighborhood watch. So I was very, very happy to see that they got that going. So if anybody wants to open up or kind of discuss a neighborhood watch in any district, I'm sure these guys, my colleagues, would welcome those as well. But specifically in District 2, contact me or the city, and we'll arrange that. We'll talk about that. I also attended El Grito. One of the things that really blew me away was not just the amount of people, but the amount of people having as much fun as they did. And there was a rotating sign language interpreter on stage as the speakers were talking. And that's the first time I've seen that at a Moreno Valley City event. I was blown away. I was very impressed with that. So whoever created that or came up with that, great job, because our hearing impaired were able to participate, enjoy that as well. So very, very good. I attended the Senior Center Commission meeting, board meeting. They are doing some great stuff at our Senior Center. And this is one of those things that Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz was talking about, is that it's another board that we're assigned to. Our Senior Center, those folks over there are doing great things. Our Rudy and his staff are doing fantastic work. One of the things that they're going to start doing is bringing guests in, and the next guest they're going to ask, and it's a process, but they're going to ask if the Office of Aging can come in and give a briefing on regional, not just in the city of Moreno Valley, but regional, what's going on with the Office of Aging in the state of California, region in our region here. And I was very happy to see that they're thinking outside the box, and they're really thinking about the growing number of seniors in our community. School's back in session, and I know this is probably our second or third meeting that we've had when school is back in session, but we have seen an uptick in SVT, school violent threats. I want to let the community know that our Sheriff's Department, our PDs that are our local PDs in the city of Riverside, Banning, Beaumont, Paris, they're on it, and it's not just a Moreno Valley issue. They're getting a lot of social media posts about someone going to a school and shooting it up, or just it's rhetoric. But rhetoric or not, I just want to assure you that our Sheriff's Department, our PD that we have here in the city of Moreno Valley, they take every single threat, they take every single post very, very serious. And what I would like the residents to do is talk to your kids, because it's not just the high schools. Everybody would think these high schools, they're older kids, they have access to guns. It's not just the high schools. It's the middle schools and elementary schools that are actually, if they say something, someone's going to report it. And then the school resource officers, the Sheriff's Department, the city jumps in and kind of assesses the threat. and mitigate it. So just please talk to your kids, talk to them about school violence, talk to them about the whole threat issue. Everybody received these, the voter guides. Like I said in the last couple of meetings, please go through your voter guide and inform yourself on the November 5th election. All the information is here, good and bad, bad or good, or pro and against. So go and educate yourself. Firefighters are here in the city of Moreno Valley from all over. I had the opportunity to talk to some of the CAL FIRE folks that were dispatched from other areas, Laverne, West Covina, Manhattan Beach, all CAL FIRE, Arcadia, Fresno, and then as far as Maine. And so if you look at our hotels and you see a fire truck parked out there, it's probably not the city of Moreno Valley's fire truck because they have parking. These guys are actually in hotels and they're in the city of Moreno Valley. So I stopped by and I thank them for what they're doing. And in addition to that, the one that is next to the 24-hour fitness over by Costco, Aldi, that shopping center over there, I went in and talked to 24-hour fitness. They're allowing these firefighters to come in on a daily basis, and they're only charging them $5. And I said, can we get away from that? And they said the corporate won't let them give them for free, but $5 a day to come in and work out and relieve some of the stress. So the firefighters are well aware of that. I asked 24-hour fitness if I could actually announce that, and she said absolutely. I talked to the manager there. So I know Chief Park is not here tonight, but I talked to some of his guys, and I told them on behalf of the city, and I hope that was okay, that we appreciate what they're doing. We appreciate them, leaving their families to come down here and help with the fires. And the city of Moreno Valley is kind of far from the actual big fires, but they're here. So I just wanted to shout out to them for what they do. Not only them, and I know my time's over, PD, who's doing all of the knock and talk? The sheriff's department, the local PDs, they're going and they're doing all the evacuations, and they have to post up once they evacuate the area to make sure that there's no looting. So kudos to PD or the sheriff's department because they kind of get forgotten in this fire because it's a fire world for sure, but they're doing their part too. So we appreciate that. And last thing I'll say, or second to last thing, is I have a community engagement on Thursday, 9/19/2024 at the Cupcake and Espresso in my district, District 2, in the Sunnymead Ranch, 5:30 to 7. If you have any complaints or kudos you want to bring to the meeting, come on down, or any issues that you want addressed, bring them. And then please be kind to one another. I know that's I say it every time, but it's really it really goes a long way. So thank you very much. Please be kind, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Can I say something real quick? That ASL interpreter came from a resident. 2 residents came to my community engagement and said, we like to attend the events, but she's hard of hearing, and she uses her phone to listen to, and when it's an event and music, you can't. And so it was just like a no-brainer. Like, obviously, we should have an ASL interpreter, so they did a great job, but no credit to us. It was our residents coming out and telling us what they need. So.
Yeah, thank you to our staff for making that happen. It's something that we should have done a long time ago, but I'm glad you guys made that happen and signed that contract. So thank you for putting that together. Next up, closing comments from Mayor Pro Tem Bernard.
So I will keep my comments short and sweet. First, I would like to say that I went to El Grito on a Sunday night. Be glad y'all got me out because I am in bed by 7:30 on Sunday, so I came out to hang out till 7:30 on Sunday, and it was well attended. I was actually surprised at the amount of people out there because it was a Sunday. But as always, it was a great and well attended event. I always want to thank park staff for all that they do. She's not here, but Jeremy very rarely talks about the ghost, aka Claudia. Claudia is always running around at all of our big events and getting things done. And so I just want to shout out to her who cracked the whip on us and made sure we were lined up on where we needed to be. So I appreciate her and Jeremy's staff for all the work that they do. I also would like to talk to Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz. We didn't have a park opening in District 4, and I've 3. I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know what park open. I missed a park opening in my own district. And I was like, I can't. I'm looking at the mayor. He's looking at me. But that's actually a good problem to have, Jeremy. That means we've opened so many parks. We don't know where they are anymore. We are just parked out. We are all over the place. So we went to that one, and that was a nice opening. And so I appreciate all of that. I also just would like to say, as Councilmember Delgado said, I thank all of the fire safety staff, especially over the last few weeks. I know the temperatures are getting cooler. We're going to spike back up again. But I know a lot of them were out here from different areas and different states, and I appreciate the work that you did and continue to do out there, as well as public safety, ensuring that the areas are cleared out and things are done. I appreciate our fire crews, our inmate fire crews that are out there doing the work of cutting the lines and making sure that everything is still going down out there and we're still safe. And in general, as Councilmember Delgado says, please be nice to each other. As you can see, the tides are changing. It is 8 o'clock. The wind should be blowing. It should be cold outside. This is my time of year. I am so over 100 degrees of heat. And I'll say this, it is political season. You've witnessed some of the political things tonight with people coming in and out. But do your research. Please do your research. Don't listen to us. Yes, don't listen to us, because we all have our own agendas and our own motives, but only you can tell yourself who you're going to support and what you're going to support and what you're going to vote for and not vote for. So please do your research and just know, I'm going to say this, and Ed's probably going to talk to me about this later. When you are voting, this is the only advice I'll give you. You're probably not going to see the immediate results of it, but my children will thank you. So please remember that when you're voting. Think about my babies, because I think about yours. And with that, have a good night, and we'll see you October 1st.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. And yes, the weather is changing. Thankfully, thank God that happened, because as my colleagues mentioned already, and as we all witnessed firsthand and lived through, the wildfires that over the past couple of weeks really just affected and displaced a lot of people, unfortunately. But I do want to also thank and commend our first responders, our police and fire personnel, our fire personnel especially, for being out there, making sure that those wildfires are contained and that structures are protected, that lives are protected. They did an amazing job, and it's really hard work out there, but we can't thank them enough. We can't thank you enough for the work that you do and for making sure that everybody stays safe as well. So just another thank you for all of our first responders. Job well done on the wildfires. Also, I had a chance to attend a few events over the past couple of weeks. One of them was El Grito, as has been mentioned as well. And it is, I believe, maybe double check me on this, we'll look at the numbers, but I think it's the second largest event now that we have. Jeremy's nodding, I see the yes over there. And every year it seems to grow. You know, we always get a packed event there at the amphitheater, and you know, it's I'm Mexican American myself, son of Mexican parents, and I just love to see how proud, just like on 4th of July, right? As Americans, we're all super proud to be Americans. You know, El Grito, you get a lot of folks from Mexico out there, and you just love to see how proud they are to be there and share in that moment, because all those things really bring us together. So great job again to staff, as always. Alush, I think, depending on if you're speaking English or Spanish, it's a lux or a lush, depending on English or Spanish, but it is the first of its kind. Grand opening was great. I had a chance to stop by as well. The food is amazing, and you know, again, it's something that the city of Moreno Valley has not had. So any folks out there that are always asking for, hey, how can we get something different, right? A different type of restaurant, new food. We have a new one. And that's Alush, right here on Alessandro, right next to the USPS, right down the street. So please support them. You know, again, it's something that our residents ask for a lot, but we need to support them. We need to go spend our dollars at their facilities, at their restaurants, to make sure that they stay afloat and that they stay here. So, you know, if you haven't checked it out, again, Alush, right here on Alessandro, right next to the U.S. Post Office. Also, as has been mentioned, Dutch Bros actually had some before coming here to the meeting, so I got some coffee in my system. And again, just want to welcome Dutch Bros, because that was another big one. Hats off to Mike Lee and Economic Development and everybody for bringing that to the city of Moreno Valley. That was a huge win right there. So welcome to Dutch Bros. I also had an opportunity to have a community engagement town hall at the senior center. That was actually alongside our assembly member, Dr. Corey Jackson, and had a chance to meet with the seniors and just give them updates and also really take their questions, because that's the most important part of being out there, is making sure that we're listening to the needs of the community, making sure that we're staying in tune and aligned with what the residents want to see in the city. And we were able to give them an update on the senior center expansion. It looks like we're going to be having that groundbreaking finally, hopefully in October sometime. So I know the seniors will be super excited about that. Looking forward to that one. Regional Job Fair on September 19th from 9 to 1 p.m. here at the Conference and Recreation Center. Taste of the Valley is coming up on September 28th from 4 to 7 p.m. also at the Conference and Rec Center. And if you want to get a chance to taste the different foods from the different restaurants that we have in town, that is the perfect opportunity to do so. That is put together in collaboration with the Moreno Valley Chamber of Commerce and many of our local businesses. So I'll be there. I'm sure my colleagues will be there and staff will be there. So we hope to see you at the Taste of the Valley as well. Briefly want to talk about, development, and actually today and tomorrow, the Federal Reserve is having their September meeting. That's something that I know staff is keeping a close eye on. I'm watching to see what Jerome Powell decides and what the board decides, but it looks like they're going to be making an interest rate cut. I think the question is, how big of a cut are they going to make? Because that'll have ripple effects across the economy. So we'll know by tomorrow what they decide. 3% interest rate on a mortgage would be nice. Absolutely. And then on homelessness, maybe two last things here. When I came in as mayor, one of the first things that I did was to put on the agenda for the city to apply for Project Home Key. That was funding that was available from the state of California for homelessness, to address homelessness. Unfortunately, we didn't apply, right? There was differences of opinion up here on the council. As much as I wanted us to, it didn't move forward. And the facility that would have received the funding if we got it is now open. That's the Sigma Beta Xi facility. That's for homeless youth, and that's located off of Cremeria and Paris. Again, that's to house homeless teenagers and get homeless teenagers off of the street. It would have been nice to get, I think we were asking for $11 million is what we were proposing. But there's going to be more opportunities coming with Proposition 1. There's ongoing conversations with our supervisor from the county, because for Prop 1, the county ultimately is the entity that submits the application, and they're the ones that ultimately call the shots on what funding will be requested. So we know that we need to do more for homelessness. And, recently there was another item that I've worked with Mayor Pro Tem on for the Homeless Ad Hoc Committee that was postponed by my colleagues here. But regardless, and outside of that, I really want to make a call to action to my colleagues, to the three of you. Because we know we need to do more for homelessness to address it in the community. Our businesses are being affected. Our residents are being affected. They're going into residential neighborhoods, setting up outside of people's homes, and it's taking a huge toll on our city staff as well. So one of the things that I've asked our staff is to send me copies of anti-camping ordinances that other cities have recently updated, so that we can have a conversation about that. But my call to action would be, because what I've brought forward, most of it hasn't been able to move forward, like the Project Home Key application and then the Homeless Ad Hoc Committee. But I want to invite you guys and ask you for your help. If maybe you don't agree with my ideas on homelessness, I need you guys to bring your ideas, bring forward proposals. Just like Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz did tonight. We spent a long time proposing different items. I need your guys' help with that as well. I just invite you guys to, at our next meeting or the one after that, to bring forth proposals. I want to hear your ideas. If you don't like my ideas, then we can agree to disagree, but we still need to do more to address homelessness. So I look forward to doing that. Second to last, I know my time is up as well, but second to last item, it is campaign season as well. So like Mayor Pro Tem Bernard said, please do your research and make sure that you're looking up, the various ballot measures, the different propositions, the various races that are on the ballot. And I do want to just mention that, unfortunately, every election cycle and campaign season, signs go missing. A couple of my signs have already gone missing, like 3 or 4 of them. Also, another candidate from District 1, their signs are going missing and being defaced. So if anybody is seeing that happen out in the community, if you are seeing anyone doing that, please make sure that you call that into the police department, because those signs cost a lot of money. And some people don't have a ton of money to spend on these signs. So, hopefully it's not anything as far as dirty politics going on, but just want to make sure that it's a fair playing field. And in conclusion, just want to, welcome in the better weather. It is something, if I could say, magical about the cooler weather and the holiday seasons, that you could just feel it in the air, right? The other day when that first day of cool weather came in, it felt really nice. It felt really, really cool. So looking forward to, the fall season, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. Now is the best time of the year, and we're going right into it. So with that, I'll go ahead and conclude my closing comments, and we will adjourn our meeting at 8:22 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.